What is going on, college basketball fans? Welcome back to another video. Today we're back with another conference tournament prediction. Already got the Big 12 and the ACC posted up on the channel. Now we have what has been the best conference in college basketball this season, and that is the SEC. They are going to have at least 11 teams in the tournament. Probably even more. Honestly, they can get up to 14 teams. I think that they're going to be about 12 or 13 teams in the tournament, which is the most we have seen from one singular league in a very long time. And I'm pretty sure every time we've seen a league get 10 plus bids into the tournament, a team from that conference has won the tournament. So that does actually make a lot of sense. I think the last time, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section because I don't know this for 100% facts, but I believe the last time a conference got 10 plus bids to the March Madness tournament was in 2014 or 2011, but it was one of those years in the Big East and UConn won the championship. So we'll see if a team from the SEC will be our national champion this year. But first, we have to see who will win the SEC championship, and we have a stacked tournament here to get through. So subscribe if you guys are new. We still got the Big East and the Big Ten dropping later on today, so make sure you guys are on the lookout for that. A ton more March Madness content coming your way. Subscribe, and let's go. So South Carolina, Arkansas. Not too long ago, Arkansas lost to South Carolina, and it was looking like Arkansas wasn't going to make the tournament because of that loss. So they have a chance to avenge that right here. Now it seems like they are in the field, not necessarily comfortably though. They need to win here against South Carolina. I would say if they do lose to South Carolina again, Arkansas will not be in the NCAA tournament. They need to at least get that first week win. And it's not going to be a gimme. South Carolina has won a couple of games in SEC play finally. So they're actually looking a little bit better. But I'm going to say that Arkansas does it and kind of tries to cement their spot there into the tournament with that win. Maybe they need one more to feel real comfortable. They need that one against Ole Miss. But definitely cannot lose this one against South Carolina. Next up, we have Texas versus Vanderbilt. We've seen this matchup this year, and Vanderbilt did win. Texas is definitely in more need of this win, even though Vanderbilt kind of ending SEC play on a little bit of a losing streak. So is Texas, but Texas definitely needs this win more. I would say Vanderbilt is somewhat comfortable in the field. Even if they lost this one, I feel like they would still sneak in as at least an 11 seed or as one of the last teams in, which could be a 12. But Texas, they need to win this one and probably at least one more to get them in the tournament, and they still might need some help from some other teams losing in order to win that one. So I would love to see Trey Johnson in the tournament. He's an excellent player. They have some other good players on that team as well, like some veterans and Caden Shedrick, Arthur Kaluma, Tremont Mark. A really good team that just plays in a stacked league. So I'm going to go with Vanderbilt, though. They won earlier in the year, and I think that they are in need of this one, knocking Texas out of NCAA tournament conversations and kind of submitting their spot for sure 100% here in this one by beating Texas in the first round. Next up, we have LSU versus Mississippi State. Now, LSU is a pretty decent team. They have Cam Carter. They're at the bottom of this stacked SEC conference. If you put them in the ACC, they might be, a top 5-6 seed in that league. So, because other than, Duke, Clemson, Louisville, and then Wake Forest, that league's kind of weak. So, I feel like LSU would be a lot better in a league like that. They have a good player in Cam Carter on their team. I just feel like Mississippi State, too good. I love the way that this team plays. I think Josh Hubbard is one of the more underrated players in the country, and Chris Jan's one of the more underrated coaches in the country as well. What he did with New Mexico State, took it over to Mississippi State, which historically is not that good of a men's basketball program, and he's been making the tournament even with a stacked league. He is just able to still get tournament bids with Mississippi State. Chris Jan's excellent coach. And they get the win over LSU. Then we got Oklahoma and Georgia. Now this one, more than any first round matchup, is a big game for both teams because both these teams want to make sure they are in the NCAA tournament. How do they get there? Simple. They have to beat each other. They have to win in the first round, and I think this is going to be a fight. I think that both these teams, they want to get into the tournament. I think Oklahoma needs it a little bit more, but I would argue and say Georgia is one of the hottest teams in this league right now. I believe they are on a 4-game win streak, and that includes a win over Florida. So I would say Georgia riding high right now. Their guards are playing the best they have all season long. They have a 5-star freshman, Asa Newell, who has been killing it all season long. I got to go with Georgia. I mean, it's hard to pick against a hot team like that right now, and that very well, Oklahoma is going to be, biting their nails on Selection Sunday if they lose that first round game to see if they can get a bid. They were undefeated in the non-con, I do believe. If not, they only had one loss in the non-conference, to now being a very, very risky bubble team and in need of a first round win in the SEC tournament. Now we get to the second round. This is to go to the quarterfinals. Arkansas, Ole Miss in the 8-9 matchup. We did see this matchup earlier in the season. Ole Miss did win. I feel like Arkansas got a lot better since then, even though Arkansas does still seem pretty inconsistent. I definitely believe that they did get a lot better since then. And Ole Miss is another team that I feel like their shooting is a little bit inconsistent. If they can shoot the 3-ball, they are one of the harder teams to play in this league because their defense is so good and they can get it down low in the post to Malik Dia. And I'm going to go with Arkansas, though. I feel like they are going to be hungry for this one, and it's hard to trust John Calipari in any type of tournament format here the last few years, but I'm going to trust his players who have had a pretty inconsistent season as a whole to knock off South Carolina and Ole Miss, which should 100% get them into the NCAA tournament. Next up, we got Vanderbilt versus Texas A&M, and I'll be honest, Vanderbilt did beat Texas A&M already once this season, so I could see yet another upset right here, and I am pretty heavily thinking about it, even though Texas A&M starting to get hot again after they beat Auburn. Wade Taylor in his senior year, I feel like that's going to be tough to beat here in the tournament. As much as I want to pull the trigger on Vanderbilt, I think Texas A&M gets their revenge here in this one, and I'm not going to have that upset. I really wanted to have a 12-5 there because I do think it does make a lot of sense, but A&M, I feel like they're getting hot again at the right time. They got the biggest win of their season over Auburn recently, and I got Texas A&M moving on to the quarters. Next up, we got Mississippi State versus Missouri. This might be the best first-round matchup out of any of them. We saw this match. I mean, these teams are all in the same league, so a lot of these are going to be rematches. And Missouri did beat Mississippi State by a lot on the road, and it seemed like Mississippi State just couldn't keep up with Missouri's scoring. However, Missouri is one of the coldest teams out of like the top 10 teams in this league. They are one of the coldest teams entering the SEC tournament. They need to get a win before the March Madness tournament. They need to get some momentum back because their momentum is at a all-time low. Luckily for them, Mississippi State is one of those teams that is very, very up and down. They haven't really got on a big win streak or a big losing streak. I feel like Missouri, knowing that they blew them out last time on the road, I feel like they can get some momentum back here by beating Mississippi State and moving on to the quarterfinals. Missouri's offense is just so good as far as their shooting. Mark Mitchell has been a super underrated player in college basketball this year. Caleb Grill, Jacob Cruz, Tamar Bates, Tony Perkins. These are all really good veteran players who can shoot the three ball, and yeah, they know when to push the pace. They hit their shots, man. They're a very tough team to beat, and I'm going to have Missouri, just too much offense for Mississippi State. Now, our last second-round matchup, we get to have Georgia versus Kentucky. Now, Georgia did beat Kentucky earlier this season. It was in Athens, though. I think Kentucky's going to be looking for some revenge in this game. It does suck that they are going to be out without Jackson Robinson for the rest of the season, because he is such a big part of that team, and I really wanted to see him in March Madness with this Kentucky team all together, fully healthy. But I still do think between Andrew Carr, of course, Ortega-Oweh, Lamont Butler, Kobe Brea, they are another one of those extremely good offensive teams, and all Kentucky needs is a little bit of defense. And I feel like in a tournament setting, Mark Pope's got to get his guys motivated to play some defense, and if they can slow down these Georgia guards who have really turned up here towards the second half of the season, I think that Kentucky can definitely win this game and put up a ton of points. That's the thing about Kentucky. They don't really want to play defense. They want to just outscore their opponent. And sometimes it's hard against teams like, I know they just beat them, but Missouri, Auburn, Florida, like the Alabama especially. I mean, some high-powered offenses. But Kentucky's right there with them as far as high-powered offenses. So I am going to take Kentucky here in that one. Now we got Arkansas versus Auburn. And I know Auburn just lost 2 games in a row to end the regular season against Texas A&M and Alabama. I don't see them losing to Arkansas, though. I really don't see them losing here before the semifinals. I would be very greatly surprised given their matchups, their matchup options. I just think that Auburn, the best team in the entire country this year, been all year, they're going to make it to the semifinals over Arkansas for sure. They hit big shots. They have plethora of guards, and Janai Broome, one of the best players in the country, he's going to show up big in this one. Score 25 plus is my prediction against Arkansas. A&M versus Tennessee, and that would be one of the better, really all of these matchups. Arkansas-Auburn might not be that close. Auburn could blow them out, but the rest of these 3 are going to be very close games, in my opinion, and could swing either way. Tennessee did beat Texas A&M on the road earlier this season, but this is tough because both teams have seniors who want to finish their last SEC tournament strong, like Zakai Ziegler, and then on A&M side you got Wade Taylor. These guys have went head-to-head with each other so many times throughout their careers, and it's going to come to a head here in the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament. And last matchup, Chaz Lanier, I think, scored 8 or 9 threes against Texas A&M, was just unstoppable. Is he going to have a game like that again? I think he's still going to have a good game, especially it's playoff time. You want your best player to have a good shooting day. But I think, even with him making that many threes, it was still, somewhat of a close game. I think it's going to be even closer. And I think Wade Taylor hits a big shot down the stretch. And I am going to have A&M pull off a slight upset here. And I am going to take them over Tennessee. And I know Tennessee fans aren't going to be happy with that at all, but that's what I'm thinking, guys. Like, my favorite team's not in the SEC. I don't have any biases towards any of these teams. I just think A&M, when it comes down to crunch time, I'm going to take Wade Taylor here to pull it off. I think it's going to be a close game. I think Chaz Lanier is still going to have another good game against Texas A&M, but Texas A&M has a good defense. They could have a game plan for him, and I like Buzz Williams as a coach. So many good coaches in this league. Rick Barnes as well, but I'm going to take Texas A&M. Next up, we got Missouri versus Florida. Going to be an extremely high-powered offensive game, and it really could swing either way. We seen Missouri beat Florida earlier in the season, and that was on the road. That was one of their best wins of the year, and one of the more impressive wins on the year from anyone in the entire country. But like I said, Missouri's a little bit cold right now. I think Florida's going to want some revenge in this one. I'm going to take the Florida Gators, and I think Missouri can get back on track a little bit against Mississippi State, but I don't know if they're going to be at their complete best. Did they peak too early? Possibly. I love this Missouri team. I want to see them do good in the March Madness tournament. I believe that they do have the team to do it, but Florida is going to be a tough team to beat, so I'm going to have the Gators move on to the semis. Then we got Kentucky versus Alabama. Again, another rematch, and we did see Alabama go into Lexington and be able to beat down on Kentucky pretty bad. And the way that Alabama plays offense, by just pretty much playing an NBA-style offense, shooting layups and threes, staying away from the mid-range, playing at an extremely high pace, shooting early in the shot clock, combined with Kentucky's just not having that great of a defense, Kentucky's just going to have to put up a lot of points and try to just keep up with Alabama and outscore them in the end, which is possible, but I'm definitely going to trust Alabama here to get it done in that one. So we do have our semifinals matchups, and I really don't like to chalk it like that. I do have a 5 over a 4 here, but there's not a ton of upsets in this one. I just think this whole league is so strong. Everybody's going to be trying so hard to win this conference. They want to be the ones to say they won the SEC tournament, and yeah, I don't want to chalk it, but man, it is tough right now. Auburn versus Texas A&M. I'm going to go with Auburn. I know Texas A&M did just beat Auburn. I think that is only going to fuel Auburn to play even harder in this game and pick up the W. I think they're going to play one of the better defensive games of the season for the Tigers. Give me Auburn here in that one. Next up, we got Florida versus Alabama. Again, and it's going to be an extremely high-powered offensive game. And I could really see this one swinging either way. This is another rematch, of course, and Florida did win earlier in the season against Alabama, but I could still see this one really swinging either way, especially with Alabama riding a ton of momentum after beating Auburn on the road. I think that is going to be extremely important in this one because Mark Sears did not have that good of a game against Auburn, but he was still able to hit the game-winning left-handed floater in that game to win in the jungle. But Florida also beat Auburn in the jungle, and I do think the winner of this game, they could be fighting for that last 1 seed in the NCAA tournament with this game. Whoever wins this one could get it, which is going to be very, very important. Obviously, you want to have a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. So this is going to be very crucial. I'm going to ride Alabama right now. I think that they're very hot. They have a ton of momentum after beating Auburn on the road more recently, and you can call it recency bias. I do think, Florida did beat Alabama already this season, but that doesn't mean that it's hard to beat the same team twice, though. And these two teams are going to go at it, score a lot of points. It is going to be a very close game, and in those type of games, I feel like it could go either way, especially when both of these teams have a ton of super good players. I'm going to go with Alabama to win that one, and we do have a third matchup of Auburn-Alabama, 1-1 this season, each one going into the road team's house and beating them this year, and we get an Iron Bowl round 3 in the SEC championship. Again, this could go either way. They split 1-1 this season so far, and Mark Sears hit a big shot, man. Janai Broome hit a couple big threes. That was surprising and shows you how clutch Janai Broome can be, because in that last game again with Auburn and Alabama, he hit 2 threes down the stretch to really tie that game, and really it would have sent it to overtime if Mark Sears didn't hit the floater at the end. I think Auburn is going to win this one in the trilogy, the third one in the SEC championship. Auburn takes it and secures the number 1 overall seed in the March Madness tournament. If Alabama does make this run, beating teams like Kentucky and Florida, I do believe that they would be awarded the last 1 seed in the NCAA tournament as well. So that is how I have the SEC tournament shaping out. Yes, I know it is kind of chalked. This is the most chalked one I've done so far, but I do feel like the top teams in the SEC are just so strong. I mean, Auburn, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Kentucky, the top 6 seeds, and then Missouri. Really, the top 7 seeds are just so strong, man. And Missouri's just a little bit cold right now. But really, all those teams are so good. And let me know, who do you guys have winning the SEC tournament this season? And make sure you guys subscribe if you guys are new. We got a ton more college basketball content here on the channel heading into March Madness. You don't want to miss it. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching.